Hello and welcome to this edition of Press Conference. I'm your host, Jim DeLorenzo, the principal of Jim DeLorenzo Public Relations. You can find me online at jimdelorenzo.com. I have found that my career in public relations is my true vocation, telling the stories of my clients and my colleagues in a compelling way to drive sales, membership, and awareness. If you have ever had any questions about the role public relations can play in your business or in your career, I would be happy to share my thoughts and experiences with you. Please feel free to contact me directly, either by email at jim@jhdenterprises.com or by cell phone or text message at 215-266-5943. You can also find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. In my career, I've had the good fortune to meet many interesting people: athletes, entrepreneurs, reporters, coaches, authors, executives, entertainers, editors, and innovators. Over the past few months, all of us have been in a period of reflection, regrouping, and rethinking of our professional and personal lives. One idea that I embraced is taking better advantage of platforms like LinkedIn and Zoom to interact with my clients, my colleagues, and my friends, but also to expand my network, my contacts, and my business. One of the fruits of those efforts is my introduction to my guest today on Press Conference, Elias Andersen. Elias is a 20-year-old tech entrepreneur from Toronto, Ontario. 1 year ago, he was in Arizona for Major League Baseball spring training, pitching his player tracking and analytics technology to teams in the Cactus League. When the Great Shutdown began, Elias needed to get back to Canada before the border closed, and on his 4-hour return flight, Elias formulated the rudiments of a business plan that was perfect during the most imperfect of times. HearMeCheer is an app that lets fans cheer during games from their cell phones, providing broadcasters and venues with authentic crowd noise for fanless games. HearMeCheer now has 14 full-time employees, and the technology has been used on ESPN for boxing broadcasts and also by a variety of college football and college basketball teams and other sports for arena sound and for broadcast sound. The app has been downloaded by fans at every continent. HearMeCheer is now in the middle of raising $1 million in early round funding, as well as refining their business model and expanding their market share into sports, concerts, and other live events. I'm very happy to have Elias as my guest today. It's great to see you coming to us live from Toronto. Thank you for being on the show, Elias.
It's great to be here, Jim, as always.
Now, I've always found it fascinating that, that one of the things that we've talked about over the year or so, is the pivot point, the idea that people needed to pivot, and your pivot was literally on the fly, if you will. You were coming back from spring training. You were pitching your Champ Tracks performance analytics software to Major League Baseball, and the camps were shutting down. The NBA had shut down. Other sports properties, the NCAA tournament and others, were shutting down. The border was closing. You needed to get home, and while you're on the plane, you have this brainstorm. Could you share with us a little bit about how that happened?
Yeah, no, it's a great story, and actually I haven't told it very often, but here it goes. So I was actually down in Arizona, as you said. I was pitching my previous company, Champ Tracks, to a number of different Major League Baseball teams, and we were getting some really good traction, and we were finally starting to, as a 19-year-old, it was, the first real thing that people had really taken to of mine. And I really just, had this moment where the NBA got shut down, and right away I was like, how can we try and fix sports? Like, there's going to be, in 2008, there was a bunch of companies that tried to come out of, major crisis and really help people get back on their feet. Well, we wanted to help sports get back on its feet. And we realized pretty quickly on that stadiums would be empty, completely empty, for up to a year. I mean, turns out it's been longer than that for a lot of cases. So we realized sports, I'd rather watch a regular season game between the two worst teams in the NBA than watch a NBA Finals game without fans. Without fans, the sport just isn't the same. So actually, I was still in Arizona. I got a phone call from my dad, and he was like, first of all, you have to come home from Arizona to Canada, looking out for my health and everything. And he's like, second of all, I have this great idea. And it was basically the first idea of HearMeCheer. It was the first time that HearMeCheer has, even been thought of. And then my brother came to me, had essentially the exact same idea on the same day. And they both independently came to me. So that's when I stopped and said, maybe this is something that I should be looking into. So I actually have two brothers who are developers. I have my father, who's now the CTO of HearMeCheer. He is, a developer as well. So I actually got like a bit of a team together, and we started to work on an MVP as soon as I got back. So I landed on my flight on March 13th, which is the day that pretty much everything in North America shut down, Friday, March 13th. And that was the day that we really started to work on HearMeCheer. And then it was, shortly thereafter that we were getting featured on Sport Techie, on different sports sites to talk about, how do we pivot, how did we come about creating this fan technology, and I'll get more into it in a minute on sort of, that process and how we sort of, and what we do there.
Now, you're getting attention from the industry trades as far as sports and technology and broadcasting and technology. How did you start spreading the word? How did you?
Well, it's funny. There was a game. The Warriors were going to play on March 13th, I believe, or March 12th, right before Rudy Gobert kind of shut down the NBA. And they were going to play without fans because California, I guess, had already gone to no fans in large venues. So essentially what had happened was, I kind of thought to myself, how would I like to play that game? And then, or how would I like to be a player or to be a fan watching that game? And both of my thoughts were, this is not going to be a great experience. So, that was sort of where we decided that, HearMeCheer is a really good idea. And then on the PR side, it was all about how could we get attention for ourselves and for our opportunity to really, drive value. Because at the end of the day, what we needed was, and what HearMeCheer does in essence is we bring fans from all over the world. They cheer into their phone, their tablet or laptop, and they're actually able to hear everyone who's cheering all at once. And we pipe that directly into venues or onto your phone if you're watching from home. So it's really cool experience because you can feel the 27,000 other fans that are cheering from around the world, or you can hear we've done events where, there's 25,000 people on at once, and it's just an incredible feeling where, you can just feel what it's like to be in a completely packed stadium when you're not, when your stadium is not full at all. There's no one in there.
Right.
So, I think that's like a big part of our PR push. A big part of the reason why people were picking up on us was that it resonated with fans. They understood the problem and they understood that there was no current solution. So we just hit that niche and we just took that and kept running with it.
And it's interesting too, Elias, that you found that niche and you actually had the fan appeal. Excuse me. You had the fan appeal, and at the same time, the broadcast companies were experimenting with canned noise or soundtracks that they had already in place, kind of like a laugh track for the old TV sitcoms. And they were seeing that was not working. What was the turning point for HearMeCheer in getting the attention, perhaps, of some of the broadcasting entities that were broadcasting these sports events?
To me, canned noise is an insult to your fans because you're not only saying we don't care about how you actually feel, we only care about how one operator feels about the game, but you're also saying that we don't want to push forward technology like HearMeCheer that enables fans to become the crowd from the comfort of their home. And we worked with a number of broadcasters that really understood the problem, understood their fan base. So it really just pushed HearMeCheer to a whole nother level when they could really get behind it and push on-screen advertisements about, go to here to have your voice heard. And, the really good thing about HearMeCheer is that it's a web app. So you can just go to a visit on a website. So we were never an app that you had to download on the App Store or
Sure.
anything like that. It was always super accessible, easy to use, just a single link that you kind of go to.
And it's interesting too. What was the turning point, do you think, in the startup of HearMeCheer, where you had a significant buy-off or significant acceptance of the platform from a sports figure or a sports league? What was like the big aha moment for the potential clients?
Yeah, so it's a funny story actually. So we were featured on Sport Techie, which is one of the larger sports technology websites and everything like that. We were featured maybe late March, early April of 2020, and they kind of were like, "Look at this new startup out of Toronto doing things that that fans could only sort of hope to get into games." And ESPN saw that. Top Rank Boxing, excuse me, sort of saw that and actually contacted us out of the blue, and sort of said, we want HearMeCheer for all of our Top Rank events. And that was a really cool feeling to sort of be sitting there and having, a major organization calling you up and saying, we want to use your technology like right away. And so it was really awesome to work with. So our first big client, in fact, our first paying customer is ESPN. I mean,
Wow.
you don't get a better first paying customer than ESPN.
That's for sure.
And we had done internal tests, we had done stuff like that, but when we went out to do that first ESPN event, that was one of the scariest feelings in my stomach. Like, you have no idea what's going to go wrong, what's going to go right, and there's always things that go wrong. We worked so hard to make sure that our whole app was our whole web app was going to stay up and everything like that. And then our actual website itself, we didn't do anything on, and it went down for like 12 seconds, and then we were able to get it back up. But there was just a few things like that.
Sure.
We didn't understand. We understood the scaling of the event, but we didn't understand how many people would want this kind of application right away. And I think that kind of hit us by surprise a bit. Right after that, we got phone calls. I think I probably got 150 messages through our website that night saying we want to do different events. And so it was really awesome to just see that like one event just like basically take you from like startup to like sort of where you can start scaling up and everything like that.
That's an incredible
and that's when we
story.
expanded our team and everything. So we did in total we did about 40 events with ESPN, and they're a fantastic client of ours. And it was just so much fun to work with a national and for the most part an international broadcast.
Sure.
I mean, they were sending their broadcast stream out to I think they were sending it out to over 40 countries.
Wow.
So all those 40 countries were seeing along the bottom, go to HearMeCheer to really cheer along. So, it's just really interesting to see that and to just feel the whole take. Like in Canada, we're watching the TSN feed.
Right.
And TSN gets it from ESPN. So it's still saying HearMeCheer and everything. And I'm like, I thought this was going to be a national deal, and it turns out this is an international deal because they send that broadcast feed out to X number of countries. So it was just an incredible feeling and super nerve-wracking. And then the next few weeks were probably the busiest few weeks of my life, trying to get out stuff out to customers and get clients. And we did over 100 events in 2020. So and that's all the way from major events that have 75 million people watching to events that have maybe a few thousand people watching. So
wow.
It was a really amazing experience.
That's amazing, and I also think it's perfect validation of the business model is that you go from the idea to going to ESPN and having the platform introduced to the world through ESPN, and all of a sudden people are seeing that it can work and it should work and you should do this. That's a great validation point for you. I have some more questions for you, Elias, as I'm sure you're aware. We are going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we'll have more conversation with Elias Andersen, the founder and CEO of HearMeCheer.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Welcome back to Press Conference. I'm your host, Jim DeLorenzo, and my guest today is Elias Andersen, the founder and CEO of HearMeCheer. And we were talking about the startup of HearMeCheer in the early stages of the lockdown and the shutdowns in the sports world in spring and summer of 2020. And now here we are, Elias, we're a year later. Your company is growing. You're hiring people, you're bringing in technology people to work on your staff. You've got some sales and marketing people working with you. You and I are working together on public relations aspects of the campaign. Where are you focusing your efforts right now? I mentioned in the introduction you're in a fundraise. Is that still going on?
Yeah, so we're really focused on, so first of all, we celebrated our 1 year on March 13th, 2021. So that was really exciting to sort of get over that 1 year mark. And it's been amazing to see the team grow and everything like that. And then we're sort of focused now on the concert space, actually. So, when we started, we were trying to fill, we're trying to fill sports venues and all of those kind of things. But now we're sort of more focused on entertainment, sports, and esports being our three major verticals. And we really find that these three verticals are really in heavy need of, and they're going to stay virtual for a lot longer.
Sure.
Because, music concert, for instance, BTS sold, BTS is a Korean boy band.
Sure.
They sold 1 million tickets to an event in late 2020. And that's they made the most money out of any, I think they made between $45 million and $60 million revenue. You can't do that in a 20,000 person venue. So,
wow.
The fact that they're able to do that online, I don't think that they're going to, go back to only in-person concerts anytime soon.
Sure.
I think there'll be some sort of hybrid where they allow people to come in and then they also allow people to watch online and buy tickets online. So, I see the virtual concert space, the comedy space, a huge opportunity. I mean, we're a two-way audio company. So, when you think about a comedian, you think about, a comedian coming on and telling a joke, and then the crowd reacts. The crowd either laughs or maybe they don't like the joke, so everyone goes dead silent, and it's just awkward for the comedian. But that's kind of like a good awkward, because now you know that joke didn't hit, and you can sort of move on.
Sure.
And I think that's an important aspect of comedy that's missing in like Zoom calls, essentially, because you never get that. You never get to see if your crowd likes your joke or not. So that's where HearMeCheer really comes in, provide that two-way audio communication channel.
And it's such a, as you've mentioned to me, and we've talked about, it's a pure audio play. It's really great sound, it's great quality, and you've got the technology to take multiple streams of audio and put it into one concentrated stream where it collects all the sound and with very little delay factor. How complex was it to come up with that algorithm and to put that into practice?
Well, Let me start by saying I'm not the brains behind developing any of that. I'm here. My background is actually electrical and computer engineering at the University of Toronto, but I did not graduate. I dropped out. But I'm not the one doing the programming. But I will say that all of our, the work that we do is very complex. We actually have patents pending on, a few different things. And we're really focused on sort of building out, whatever product that we can to really serve our consumer market. And I would say that, our development team has done a fantastic job with our audio algorithms. Like, honestly, there's no other company in the world that can do 2,000, 10,000, 30,000 people using the same technology that we're using for audio. So, when these big venues start coming and thinking, two-way audio is maybe something that we want to do,
sure.
The first company that they think of is, HearMeCheer. And actually, it's crazy, the brand recognition that you get from doing these shows with ESPN and whatnot is just off the charts, because I've actually been on, maybe 10 calls in the last month or so where they say, oh yeah, we heard of HearMeCheer through such and such, like just, a random thing that I didn't even know existed. And, they're talking like they know all about HearMeCheer. And, when they thought that they needed a two-way audio system, the first thing they thought of was HearMeCheer. So it's just really great to sort of understand, that. And then, sort of go from there and build out the audio algorithms that really feed and create that brand.
And I think that's interesting, too, that you have mentioned moving beyond a second screen experience to, integrating HearMeCheer into existing web environments and other environments where the users can get to it easily, and the property, either the event or the game or the tournament, what have you, would have the ability to just share that with their audience without having the audience do too much to get to it.
Yeah, I think social audio is a huge space right now. It's just like it's just doubling, tripling in size every few months, because Clubhouse first came out with an application about a year ago, and they slowly built up, and they've had a lot of hype in the first couple months of 2021. And then Facebook and Twitter announced competitors to Clubhouse. But the big issue with that is that you need to bring your audience onto a social media platform in order to have them all cheering together or listening together to a podcast or something like that. Whereas with HearMeCheer, you can actually bring them onto your own webpage, integrate HearMeCheer into your website in as little as 15 minutes. And all of a sudden, you have like this ready to go site that has a lot of the same capabilities as Clubhouse, except we can do that second layer of audio where, you have a background cheering and laughing, and you can get audience reactions real time. So there's a lot of really cool things that we're doing above and beyond someone like, Clubhouse or Facebook or Twitter that they're sort of working on in the social audio space.
And that's a really neat idea too, because you want the venue or the stadium or the concert, the comedian, they want to keep that audience within their control, if you will, and not having to share that with Twitter or having to share it with Facebook or Clubhouse or any other app, but be able to have it on your own environment will certainly build brand loyalty and artist loyalty or team loyalty.
Yeah, there's a ton of applications that you can see a big fit for something like HearMeCheer. Like if you think about fantasy sports or something like that, where you have groups of 7 or 8 people all talking to each other, and normally they would maybe even like go in and do like a Zoom call. And like open up a Zoom call, they go off of the say like the fantasy site they would go off of, and they would go onto Zoom, and then they would talk to each other on Zoom. And then you're driving your users onto another platform. Whereas if you like integrate HearMeCheer directly into your platform, all of a sudden you have like this super easy to use user interface that allows all your users to connect with one another. And I think that's the big key and our big differentiator is that in 15 minutes or less, we can get a fully integrated audio platform onto your website, application, whatever web property that you have. So it's just an amazing experience, and we've been getting a lot of calls like, oh, Clubhouse is really popular. Can you get Clubhouse onto my website? And that's kind of what one of the things that we sort of offer here. I mean, we do a lot more than that, but
Sure.
As a baseline, that's sort of one of the things that we offer.
And one of the other things that I think is interesting, and the way you just described it, some people along the way thought, okay, we're going to be doing Zoom calls, we're going to be doing video conferencing, we're going to be doing watching from our homes, we're not going to be able to get into the stadiums, we're not going to be able to get to the concerts, but that's going to go away soon. And one of the things I think is interesting about where HearMeCheer fits in to a lot of places, in the mindset is this isn't going away. It's going to be adapting to when the venues open up, but there are still going to be people who are not going to be comfortable going to the venues, and there are still going to be people who may be far away from the actual place that they're going to go see a game. Say if you're a Philadelphia Phillies fan living in Toronto, you're not going to be able to get down to Citizens Bank Park as freely as you would if you lived in the Philadelphia area, no matter what the environment is. And an application like HearMeCheer gives you the opportunity to become a part of the crowd while you're still far away.
100%. And I think the stat that really got me when we were starting out was that like 90% of your fans that are watching your event are not necessarily in your city, and they may never come to your city also. So when you get into those big events, you have a Lakers game. Well, the Lakers are the most popular basketball team in China, and then you go to pretty much every other country, and the Lakers are probably a top 5 NBA team in that country. So to get all of those Lakers fans from around the world cheering into their phones and connecting with other Lakers fans that are all around the world that might not even speak the same language as them.
Sure.
The only language that they speak that's similar is Lakers language. And they know how to cheer for the Lakers, but that's it. They don't know, they might not have a mutual language, but when Kobe Bryant was pulling up, from the mid-range and hitting, shots, everyone was cheering. And that's what brought people together. And that's what's going to continue to bring people together. So I think that, sports is kind of its own language. And when you're able to sort of bring people, from around the world into sort of, bring them into these sporting events, venues, and bring them into concerts and comedy shows, I think it opens up a huge world of opportunities for some of these bigger venues and some of these bigger organizations to really take advantage of.
That's really a great way to describe it too, because it's almost like, we joke about Laker Nation or Villanova Nation or things like that, but there is a whole world of fans out there that they have that one thing in common. They're a fan of that team, or they're a fan of that artist or that performer, and to be able to unify them through that affinity, if you will, that like of a team, or that like of a product, or like of a performer, is going to be a really valuable thing going forward.
For sure. No, I think that's 100%. You're right down the right path when you're looking at that sort of stuff.
Well, Elias, I really thank you for taking some time with me today. It went quickly here, and I could talk to you for hours, and I have talked to you for hours in aggregate. But where would our viewers go if they wanted to get more information about HearMeCheer and how to reach out to you?
Yeah, so you can go to HearMeCheer.com, and you can actually go on our website. We have a contact form. You can get in touch. You can actually send me an email directly, Elias@HearMeCheer.com. And so, just get in touch. Feel free to reach out. We're happy to do events we've done events from, 5 people to, 50,000 people all cheering concurrently, and more than that. So we can really do, any event that you want, and we're happy to sort of be here. And thanks a lot for having me, Jim. This has been a great time, and I know it's flown by, but maybe we can do this again sometime soon.
I would like that a lot, Elias. I really am grateful for your time today, and I really encourage our viewers to take a look at HearMeCheer. If Elias just gave you his contact information, you can always contact me, and I will be happy to pass along the information to you as well. And again, Elias, thank you very much for being my guest today, and thank you for watching today. I really enjoyed our time together. I want to remind our viewers that I always look forward to hearing from you. Feel free to give me a call at 215-266-5943 or email me at jim@jhdenterprises.com. Thank you all again, and I look forward to seeing you very, very soon.